This is the Louie Tee Network.
Then it gets even better when your team makes the playoffs.
In the lab.
Who else could it be but me, Dormant? Louie Tee, welcome. You are in the lab room. Thank you for joining me here on this program. Of course, I am your host, Louie Tee. Thank you for joining me. Playoff football, man. It is something to behold. Wildcard weekend, the nightcap was a doozy. And that's what family business looks like. When you don't like your first cousins and they come to your house and they always start in trouble, that's what family business looks like. When you tired of seeing the same old family member over and over and over, and there's no love lost, that's what family business looks like. Pittsburgh Steelers on the road, 6th seed in the AFC playoffs, taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, the number 3 seed, hosting the Steelers in the jungle. Wow. First half of this game, not a lot to really talk about. It was a physical football game. I did not know the weather was going to be such a factor in this game as it was early on and really throughout the night. I mean, I didn't expect the showers to be as brutal because it came down. It was a torrential downpour for much of the game, and I didn't expect it to be as long. You know, sometimes you'll get a rain cloud come through and it'll just pour down like cats and dogs and then it's gone. And you'll see it happen in Miami all the time. Well, that wasn't what this was. This was a torrential downpour for a good 3/4 of this football game. It slowed up early in the third quarter and it came back. As soon as the Steelers scored their touchdown, their lone touchdown of the game, it came back down and it did not stop. So the weather was a huge factor in this game. I was impressed early on with the Steelers and their ability to run the football. I did not expect the Cincinnati Bengals to give it up on the ground to a team that they knew coming into the game was going to probably have some issues running the football. And then you see how the weather impacted the game because the Steelers, I don't know if the game plan was to turn around and hand the football off to Fitzgerald Toussaint and Jordan Todman a combined probably 35 times in this game, but that's ultimately what ended up happening because of the weather. You didn't want to put the football in the air as often because bad things happen on wet nights like this. So I was really surprised at how well the Steelers were able to run the football, especially in that first half. And even into the second half, I thought they had some gashes and those guys made some plays. And I definitely want to give credit to Fitzgerald Toussaint and Jordan Thomas for the way they ran the football in this football game and not putting it on the carpet. We'll talk about another player who was not able to secure the football later on in the game, but it was 6-0 at halftime. I mean, it really wasn't a lot of action. I was on Twitter. A lot of people were talking about how the first game was a dud, this game was a dud, and people were making jokes about how the BCS Championship Series and how all of the bowl games turned out and how they were a dud, and how this game and the previous game, the Chiefs and Texans, were following suit. And it did seem like this was going to be an uneventful Saturday, especially the way the second half started off, which is the Bengals early in the second half on the move. Looked like they're going to get their first points of the half. Jarvis Jones able to beat Andrew Whitworth around the corner, and it doesn't happen very often. It's why Andrew Whitworth is an all-pro. But he's able to hit A.J. McCarron's arm as he's trying to throw the football. It's fumbled. It's picked up by Cam Thomas. Looks like it's going to be a fumble. Recovery by Cam Thomas. Another fumble by him, scooped up by William Gay. Touchdown Steelers. Replay shows that it was just a fumble, scooped up by Cam Thomas. He was down by contact, so the Steelers get the football there. They wind up getting another field goal off of that mistake, and it's now 9-0 in the ball game. And at this point now, you're feeling like it's going to be one of those games. Steelers kick about 5 field goals, win the game 15-0, because it didn't seem like the Cincinnati Bengals were going to be able to do anything all night to score any points. And then Big Ben beats the blitz as the Cincinnati Bengals try to heat him up and come after him. He finds Tones over the middle of the field, and he makes a really good catch, but an even better move to elude a tackler, steps between the two of them, and starts turning into a punt returner. Gets a huge gain of about 50 down inside the 10-yard line of the Cincinnati Bengals. A couple plays later, a miraculous catch. You're going to see this catch on highlight reels for the remainder of the playoffs, and probably this is going to be one of those catches that will be on the Martavis Big Ten Bryant montage. When you see anything about him, you're going to see this catch. He gets the football, he catches it. His arm is raked by the cornerback, Dre Kirkpatrick. So the ball kind of gets dislodged. As he's falling to the ground, he still has possession behind his leg. The only thing, and this was brilliant on his part, the only way he was going to be able to secure this football was to do a front tuck and hold the football pinned against his leg, the back of his leg, and pull it through his legs, which is what he ultimately did. It was one of the best catches you'll see in terms of a guy maintaining possession in an awkward position. And so it's now 15-0. This is something that Mike Tomlin has done all season long. I'm not going to beat him up for being who he is. He's been a gambler all season long. He's been a proponent of going for two versus kicking an extra point, and I don't have a problem with him deciding to go for two. You're up 15. You feel like, hey, worst case scenario, if I don't get this two-point conversion, the Bengals are still going to have to go for two to tie this ball game at some point anyhow. If I get it, the upside is now it's a three-possession game. I feel better about it being a three-possession game than I do two, so I don't have a problem with him going for two. Maybe he should have kicked the extra point. Hindsight is 20/20. He went for two. I thought Ben could have run it in. He decided to throw it to the back of the end zone to Marcus Wheaton. Incomplete. It's 15-0. Now, that's when this game took a turn for what some will say the worst. For me, it was entertaining football. Sign me up every day of the week. So, to me, there were two key plays in this game, and then, of course, all the stuff that happened at the very end. The first key play of the game for me was the hit on Giovanni Bernard by the Steelers linebacker, Ryan Shazier. He cleans the clock of Giovanni Bernard, and was it an illegal hit? Maybe, but the fact of the matter is he caught the football, took 2 or 3 steps, literally turned around, so you could argue he took 4 steps. He did not see this hit coming. He had no clue. To me, he was more defenseless taking this hit than a guy that catches the football and balls up. He didn't even have a chance to really protect himself. He turned around and caught it right in the jaw. I mean, slow motion really did this hit some justice, because in slow motion, you see the head turn back and all of the water fly off of his helmet. It is a gruesome hit. He's lying motionless on the floor, and I thought that the officials were so caught up, and probably the commentators as well. A lot of people were guilty of paying attention to the hit more so than the actual play itself, because if you take a closer look, and I actually thought that on the field, it should have been a touchdown, and I thought that initially. You go back and look at it. Ryan Shazier recovers the football and is not touched by any Cincinnati Bengal player, but because of the nature of the play and the hit, everybody focused on that, and so they called it a catch and he was down. But instead, had they ruled it a touchdown on the field, it would have been a touchdown. Instead, they went back, looked at it, they ruled that it was a fumble, but they couldn't give him the touchdown, which I thought was a huge play. But nonetheless, they take the points off the board, and for the Cincinnati Bengals, because they were well within field goal range at that point, and Steelers get the football, but they don't do anything with it. And the Bengals, and I thought this was a huge play after the Steelers were able to go up 15-0. There was a penalty-induced drive that fueled the Cincinnati Bengals' first touchdown of the game. You get an A.J. Green pass interference penalty that I didn't necessarily agree with. I thought look, they threw the flag. I didn't have a problem with it, but I thought they could have let that go. Was the defender face guarding? Absolutely. And so if you want to throw the flag, fine, knock yourself out. I thought he made a good play on the ball, but he did not see the ball, and so it was face guarding. So if you want to throw the flag, fine, knock yourself out. They scored the touchdown off of that. Jeremy Hill gets in the end zone to make it 15-7. And all of a sudden we got a ball game, and then I thought key play number 2. Big Ben sack, and it's crazy how this play unfolded, because Ben escapes outside the pocket. He thinks he's got a little bit of a lane to get to the outside, and he did initially. What happened was Vontaze Perfect took an inside rush, and he's going to get stonewalled by the tackle, but the guard chips him, and that chip actually knocks the tackle out of play, and he spins to the outside, which is where Ben now is. And initially when Ben took that outside angle to get outside the pocket, Perfect was going inside. The chip by the guard knocks him to the outside. He spins off of it, and voila, Ben Roethlisberger right in his face. And he hits him, and it was crazy because after the hit on Giovanni Bernard, the crowd got raucous. It was nasty. It was a nasty scene. They were upset. They were throwing things on the field. The players got in each other's faces. It got chippy. It got nasty. It got physical. It was going towards what we saw toward the end of the game. It was reminiscent of what happened the last time these two teams met in December, when there were a lot of chicanery and things of that nature before the game, during the game. There's no love lost here. Let's not kid ourselves. These two teams do not like each other. We saw the penalty that was garnered early in the game by the Steelers offensive line coach and ex-Tennessee Titans head coach. And he grabbed Reggie Nelson's dreads and kind of threw him. And so, look, there's no love lost. Players, coaches, everyone. No one likes anyone from these opposing teams. And so this thing was starting to take a turn for the worse after the Giovanni Bernard hit. And so Vontaze Burfict was going nuts. And so you knew he wanted to do something. And he drilled Ben Roethlisberger. It was a legal hit. Nothing dirty here. Nothing malicious. It ended up being a good hit. And it put Ben down on his shoulder. I'm going with a clavicle. I love saying that word, clavicle. That's a funny word, clavicle. His shoulder, collarbone area. He went down on it. I didn't think he was coming back. And we'll talk about Ben and how, God, that guy's awesome. We'll talk about Ben later, but at that time, that was key play number 2, because you knew if Ben was out for any amount of time in this game, the Cincinnati Bengals had the momentum. They had already gotten on the scoreboard. You could see the table starting to turn in their favor. Now they had to punt. It was 4th down. Punchers' heels are literally right on the back of the end zone. And so they're going to get great field position, which they ultimately do, and get a field goal out of the possession. You saw where this was going. If Ben can't come back, there's going to be some trouble here. And so, indeed, Ben was out. And here comes Landry Jones, and the offense sputtered. He couldn't get any first downs. He couldn't get anything going. And they struggled. And so, Steelers have to punt the football once again. And now you start to see the clock dwindle in. And I thought A.J. McCarron gained some confidence late in the ball game. He started using his legs. There was pressure. He was unfazed by it. He started to use his legs to get out of the pocket. And look, even if it's a 2-yard gain, it's not a sack. It's not a wasted down. He was starting to kind of get into the rhythm of the game, making some good throws and using his legs to extend plays. You started to see everything coming together for the Cincinnati Bengals team at the right time. And so they move it down the field. They get into striking distance, down 5 at 15-10. And I thought the Cincinnati Bengals got away with one. If you go back and watch the A.J. Green, young, fresh and green, the A.J. Green touchdown grab, he should have been flagged for false start. If you look at that play, he jumps and he hitches, and it should have been false start. Instead, they don't call it. I don't know how, because normally the officials do not miss that. I was waiting for them to stop the play and flag him for false start. They didn't. He runs down the field on a corner route and gets the touchdown. He actually jumped too early on the play, hung up in the air. That's what ups can do for you, because he mistimed his jump poorly and was able to double clutch in the air and reach up and snag the football and get in the end zone and give the Cincinnati Bengals a 1-point lead. This 2-point conversion was going to be huge. I didn't like the play call on this 2-point conversion. I don't want to go backwards at all. When you're 2 yards away from the end zone, I don't want to go backwards. I want to go forward. So to throw the football a yard backwards, Steelers were all over it. And they are not able to convert the 2-point conversion. So now it's a 1-point lead for Cincinnati. Steelers have all 3 of their timeouts. Less than 2 minutes to go in the game. So you're feeling good if you can just get one stop. You probably got this game in the bag. The ensuing possessions, Landry Jones comes out, and it's crazy. It's like a movie. They show Ben Roethlisberger on the sideline, helmet on. They're talking to sideline reporter and Tracy Wilson, and she's like, "Oh yeah, Ben Roethlisberger. They got his helmet, they got his pads. He looks like he's gonna go back in." And they send it down, and they set the stage, and they got the camera on Ben, and I'm like, "Yo, the offense is going on the field. Why you still talking to the coach, Ben? Go out there." And then they show Landry Jones, and he's on the field. "Oh, you got me. You got me. You got me good. Don't do me like that." So Landry Jones goes on the field, and the first play of the possession throws an interception. And I'm like, wow, that's it. Game's over. And Vontaze Burfict made a hell of a play. He, to me, made 2 of the biggest plays of the game to this point, knocking Ben out of the game, and now this interception that looks like it's going to seal this game for the Cincinnati Bengals. He takes off with the football all the way to the tunnel, the opposite tunnel where they were defending. So, I mean, it just felt like this game was over. And then the guy that, if you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan, in the late stages of the game, the one guy you don't want carrying the football has the football. And this has been his issue his entire career. He's the fumbling running back in Jeremy Hill. And look, to his credit, it's a wet night. It looked like he had a good, firm, secure lock of the football. It looked like he had the 4 points of pressure. It just, look, sometimes guys make plays, and Ryan Shazier reached his hand in the cookie jar and pulled out a cookie. Yum, yum, eat 'em up. Yum, yum, eat 'em up. And got himself a cookie. And it's unfortunate that the game came down to a play like that because of some other mistakes made by his teammates. And they should have been able to pick him up and make a stop. And the Steelers recover the football. They're still deep in their own territory. They got 3 timeouts, but time is no longer on their side. And now here comes Big Ben. Oh my goodness. The story couldn't have been written any better. Here comes Big Ben in the state. And this is why this man's going to have a bust in Canton one day. Right here. The toughness that he plays with, I don't think is matched by any quarterback I've ever seen in my life. Ben Roethlisberger has been the most battered and bruised quarterback I've ever seen in my entire lifetime. And again, I can't talk about what they used to do to quarterbacks, taking their heads off in the 60s and 50s and 40s. I don't know anything about that. I'm talking about in my lifetime where they protect the quarterbacks more so than any other position on the field. Ben Roethlisberger takes a pounding, and he gives it everything he's got. And if he can walk, if he can move his arm to a 90-degree angle, he's gonna play. And to see him go back out on the field, I know something's wrong with his shoulder. The man wouldn't even answer questions about his shoulder after the game. I wouldn't be surprised if he's done for the rest of the season. But the fact that he came back onto the field, that gave every Pittsburgh Steelers player out there confidence. And I know it gave the fans at home confidence. And I'm saying to myself, this is a Hollywood script, man. This guy cannot come in here and do these boys. He can't possibly take his team down the field and win this game. Not happening. And it didn't look like it was going to happen. They get to a 4th down. I'm thinking this is it. They're going to make a stop. They're going to get him out of the game. First of all, on the 3rd down, hell of a catch by Fitzgerald Toussaint. He played a huge role in this game. I was wrong because I thought he wasn't going to be a big factor in this game, but he was. It was a huge catch on 3rd down because he had to look over one shoulder, look over the other, locate the football, catch it. 7-yard gain on a 3rd and 3. Huge play to extend the drive. Another big play by Michael Johnson on the 3rd down. They fooled him with a little bit of a draw handoff. And look, if he didn't grab Fitzgerald Toussaint's ankle and he crawled to that man wanted to make the play. That's what I'm talking about. When you talk about effort, man's on the ground being blocked. He crawls over a 1.5 yards, reaches his arm out, and stops Fitzgerald Toussaint from not only picking up the 1st down, that man was about to get some chunks. Okay? That was some chunk yardage in front of him. And we're talking about maybe another 10 to 12, maybe even 15, and possibly getting out of bounds to stop the clock. Michael Johnson stops him from getting a 1st down and sets up one of the most pivotal points and plays in the game, a 4th and 3. And Ben Roethlisberger able to locate Antonio Bryant on a well-run route where he goes inside, he stumbles, comes back to the outside, Ben finds him, hits up a 1st down, and this is where all hell breaks loose here. After this play, they run the next play, Antonio Brown over the middle of the field. Steelers are now out of time outs at this point, and so you know everything over the middle of the field. And we're talking about 28 seconds left, if I'm not mistaken, 28, 24 seconds, something like that at this point in the game, and they throw an in-breaking route to Antonio Brown, and Vontaze Burfict absolutely clobbers him in the head. I mean, he was literally, they were arguing after the play was over when the flag was thrown. I'm like, dude, you smoked this dude in his skull. What are you arguing? I want to hear about your shoulder. You smashed him in his head. Like, you trying to decapitate this man. Like, that looked dirty, okay? And I'm going to tell you right now, Vontaze Burfict is a savage, all right? And he's been that way. He's had a temper at ASU. That's why Mike Mayock went on record as saying that this guy is undraftable. He was a head case at ASU. He went from a guy that was a 1st round to a 2nd round draft choice to being undrafted in the NFL because of his temper. This guy is crazy. He's a loose cannon, and you see it week in and week out. And when he loses his temper, you don't know what the hell this guy's going to do. He's a head case. And that play right there, you've done everything you could possibly do to try to win this game. And in one split second, he threw it all away by hitting a defenseless Antonio Brown in the head, knocking him temporarily unconscious, and giving them a 15-yard penalty when all they needed was 14 to get in the field goal range. Then to make matters worse, and this is when the goddamn wheels fell off of this Cincinnati Bengals bus. So Joey Porter, one of the linebacker coaches for Pittsburgh Steelers, comes on the field to check on Antonio Brown. Maybe he said something. You know, Joey Porter, he was crazy in his day. And so he comes on the field to check on Antonio Brown as he's leaving. Wallace Gilberry comes in and bumps him in his back with a little bravado chest bump. Bam! And hits him from behind. So it bumps Joey Porter a yard or two forward, and he turns around and looks at him like, seriously, really? We doing this? That's what we're doing? And so Joey's like surrounded by like 6 Bengals. And then Pac-Man out of nowhere just runs in like, I don't know what the impetus for this was. He just runs into the official like a madman. And the official's like, what the hell is wrong? Man, take this flag. What the hell's wrong with you, man? Calm your ass down. And just like that, 30 yards on just penalties on an incomplete pass puts the Steelers in chip shot field goal range. Unbelievable. At the end of the day, when you got a team full of N-words, and they act like N-words, you can't be mad. At some point, you had to know that having a team full of N-words was going to catch up with you. And the Cincinnati Bengals have been collecting them for years and years. And at some point, it's going to come back to bite you in the ass, and it did in this game. Vontaze Burfict and Adam Jones, both, the artist, the cornerback, formerly known as Pac-Man, bit you right in the ass. As they both get unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, or one was a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty and the other was a personal foul penalty, hitting a defenseless receiver. Either way, 30 yards of penalty yardage sets Chris Boswell up, who was perfect on the night from field goal distances that were all within 40 yards. And he hits the field goal, give him a 2-point lead at 18-16. Steelers win the football game, 18-16. What a crazy, crazy finish. Cincinnati Bengals fans have to be up in arms about how this game finished. They showed a lady crying. I laughed at her. Yeah, dry your goddamn eyes, man. This is what your football team has been doing to you for years. You should be used to it. And it's just comical. At this point, does Marvin Lewis have to get fired after this or what? I mean, seriously, like, how long can we continue this clown show in Cincinnati? Like, I know this man has made it to the postseason 5 years in a row. You don't get an award for making it to the postseason. You need to win some games. And he doesn't have control of this team, okay? The way they acted at the end of this game cost them a postseason win in a season where the AFC is so wide open. If they could have just got past the Steelers in this game, they would have had as good a shot as anybody of getting to the Super Bowl. Now they're at home. And the Steelers probably won't do anything with this win because Ben Roethlisberger is hurt, and I don't expect him to play against Denver next week. And so, had you won this game, Andy Dalton may be back. Who knows what's going to happen with him? But at the end of the day, you just wanted another chance to try to win another game to get you one step closer to the Super Bowl, and you blew that because your players had no control, and you, most importantly, didn't have control of your players. So, to me, this is a systemic problem, starting with the head coach. Fix it and move forward. And you got some head cases on this roster that you need to evaluate. Vontaze Burfict is a hell of a football player, but that dude is a head case, and so is Adam Jones. I talked about this in week 14 when these two teams met for the second time, when I said the Cincinnati Bengals simply stopped playing football to win and started trying to beat the Steelers. And there's a difference. There's winning on the field, and then there's trying to beat your opponent physically and trying to intimidate them. They were trying to do that again in this game. They let the Steelers get in their head once again. They lost their composure while the Steelers are moving on to the divisional round. It's a shame, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. Cincinnati Bengals lose yet again and extend the NFL's longest postseason drought streak now to 9 consecutive losses, and now it's going to be 26 years and counting until the Cincinnati Bengals win a postseason game. Steelers get it done, 18-16 in a wild finish. Really good football game, very entertaining theater. What more can I say? What more can I say about Ben Roethlisberger, man? The dude comes in the game with one arm, guts it out, completes a key fourth down conversion, takes his team down the field. Oh my God, this guy's so clutch, man. Ben Roethlisberger, tough as nails, clutch quarterback. This could be the start of something big. If he's not hurt to the point where he can't play, if they win this Super Bowl, we're going to look back at this game and his gutsy effort, and we're going to talk about this for years to come. Even if they don't win and he can't play anymore, we'll still be talking about the night that Ben Roethlisberger came in with one arm. It almost like the night that Emmitt Smith beat the Giants for the division with one arm. This will be the same thing. Ben Roethlisberger came in and beat the Cincinnati Bengals with one arm. It's crazy, but that's what the NFL playoff drama brings to your television set. I am Louie Tee. Thank you for joining me here in the Lab Room. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything. National Football League. Damn, that was a good way to end off Saturday. Started like a dud, all right, but went out roaring like a lion. Now, hopefully Sunday gives us some more good football to chew on. I'll see you then. There's plenty more where that came from. While you're here, subscribe to the channel. If you want more Louie Tee, be sure to follow me on Twitter at InTheLabRoom, or you can like the Facebook page at In the Lab Room. That's In the Lab Room on Facebook and at In the Lab Room on Twitter. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so.
Then it gets even better when your team makes the playoffs.